Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here. The first thing I'd like to do is request all the current and former council members to stand so we can thank you. Thank you. Let me take a moment to invite our great Congressman Jim Cooper to come up and say a few words of greeting.
It's such an honor for me to be here tonight with our great mayor, to be with our great council, past and present. This is a fabulous city, and it's a fabulous city because of you. All I do is try to represent you at the federal level. Y'all are doing the hard work here at home. And there is no more exciting city in America than Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks to you. Thanks to you and to what I call the Music City Miracle. Now, many people think that was that incredible Titans football play a few years ago. The Music City Miracle was going Metro 50 years ago. Thank God we did it.
I think I can speak for the vice mayors. I think we have a quorum tonight here. You know, it was a little more than a year ago that I really started to think about Metro's 50th birthday and all the effort it took to consolidate the governments of Davidson County and the city of Nashville. This was a bold move. It was innovative, it was forward-thinking, and it was absolutely necessary. It was a big deal then, and it's a big deal today. I can tell you that when I'm out anywhere else in the country, people want to talk about what happened in Nashville 50 years ago. They want to talk about how it was done and whether they can do it. And people recognize the fact that it's been a tremendous part of our success as a city and a tremendous part of our prosperity. I felt like we as a city ought to mark the milestone somehow to show later generations and newcomers to Nashville how we got here. When you stop and think about people who have just come to Nashville in the last 10 or 15 years, a lot of people probably don't think much about Metro, why it happened, how it happened, and who made it happen. I asked George Cate, who you all know is Metro's first vice mayor, Senator Thelma Harper, and John Siegenthaler to co-chair this effort. And let me commend all three of them right now. They have done an absolutely wonderful job. And they deserve credit for kicking this off on about a 100-degree day in June, and I will always be appreciative of that. They've been given speeches. They've been given speeches going into the schools and sponsoring panel discussions. But I think they've outdone themselves here today. Months down the road, when this celebration is over, I think we will look back on tonight's event as a highlight. It was certainly wonderful to be at the reception and see so many faces that I have not seen in recent days, and it was wonderful to watch council members' faces as you greeted one another and reminisced and reflected. Metro really is special. This is the month. Tuesday, November 6th, marks 50 years to the date that Nashvillians elected the first Metro Council, the first vice mayor and mayor. I want to take 1 minute to thank Vice Mayor Diane Neighbors and all the former vice mayors, the current Metro Council, and all former members of the council for the contributions you have made and continue to make to our city. Let me make special recognition again of George Cate and also Carlton Tarkington, who served on that inaugural council and are with us tonight. I also want to especially remember the late Vice Mayor David Scobie. His many years of service and the way he conducted the city's business were exemplary. And now it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker. I really think that Mayor A.C. Wharton of Memphis, when he finishes talking to us tonight, that we will appreciate our consolidation even more. Mayor Wharton actually was born right up the road here in Lebanon, Tennessee. His family, who lived in Nashville and in the Middle Tennessee area. He's been the Shelby County Mayor for 7 years. He was elected Memphis City Mayor in 2009. He's also a lawyer, which I think is a great background for a mayor. And I think, and And a public defender, too. And I think you'll agree with me when AC comes up to speak that he is the best-dressed mayor in Tennessee. Mayor Wharton is a colleague, but even more than that, he's a friend. He has always been there to help, to provide guidance when asked. And I've enjoyed visiting with him in Memphis, and I've enjoyed having him here in Nashville. And it's my honor to introduce to you now the Mayor of Memphis, Mayor A.C. Wharton.
Thanks, Mayor Dean. Carl, thanks so much. It's really difficult for me to read a speech. I have some stuff here that they said for me to read. I'm going to drive my wife crazy because she tells me don't get up there and start telling those little corny jokes. Where is she? Ruby right there, Attorney Ruby Wharton, my wife, is up with me. And to members of the council, present and past, thanks so much. John, my dear friend, Congressman, Senator Harper, thank you so much for your great service, and all the guests here, thank you so much. Let me, if I might, in true fashion, just kind of ramble a little bit, and then I'll get to what I'm supposed to say, or else folks back home will be mad at me for wasting all this paper. It wasn't by chance that Carl Dean, a former public defender's mayor of our great city of Nashville here, I don't think it's by accident that I was elected mayor of Shelby County and then mayor of the city as a public defender. At a time when I, as a public defender who represented scumbags, I'm the guy that's supposed to convince you, Mayor Dean, that it is right and proper for some guy to break in your house tonight, and then next week you got to reach in your pocket and buy him a lawyer, hire him a lawyer. Lawyers aren't for sale. That was a Freudian slip there. You'll never sell that to anybody, but you end up with Carl Dean as your mayor, and you end up with me there. And across the nation, you'll see this. What's in common about that? It's because you know that when you elect a Carl Dean or somebody like me who has never gone through life looking for the popular cases and all, you want somebody, and in this day and time, this is of critical importance because I do believe that there is an assault on cities. If you look at the policies coming out of Washington, there is an assault. You want somebody who is going to wake up every day and say, the cynics be damned. I represent this city, and I'm going to fight for this city. Might not win popularity contest, but that is what cities are up against now, and this is why you're seeing unlikely people elected as mayors. Oscar Goodman in Las Vegas, he was the mafia. I'm not recommending that here. He was the mafia lawyer. They liked him so well. Carl, you might try this. They liked Oscar so well. He and I worked on cases together. They liked him so well. When term limits came, he had his wife to run, and she was elected, but she let him keep the office. She goes down there every day, but Oscar's still running the city. But they wanted him because here's a guy who wakes up every day and says, I am going to fight for this city. That's the beauty of cities. Let me just ramble a little bit more because this is a great day. I was talking to Mayor Bloomberg this morning. You'll probably see about 50 light, gas, and water trucks coming through your city about now. We're sending them up on Long Island to help out there. And we were discussing just the fate of cities and whether it was a good decision for him to go ahead and allow the marathon. I told him I thought it was a perfect decision, an excellent decision, because while buildings may fall, and while you might lose a park here and there, that never kills a city. What kills a city is when the spirit of the city dies. And when I told him, I said, look, you are keeping the spirit of you may remember the Empire State Building a little while. You may remember Central Park a little while. But there's one thing that you never forget when you leave New York is that those people, they may fight, but when the chips are down, just as they were in 9/11, that's when they are at their strongest. And so it is with our cities, and so it is with Metro Davidson. This is an example, a model. Matter of fact, Carl, you're absolutely right. And I'm going to tell you in a minute why folks have me to come and talk about cities. I'll tell you why in just a minute. But I was in Berlin 3 weeks ago, and folks talk about what's going on in Nashville. One thing that this worldwide recession has done is that it has brought us together globally. Globally, cities everywhere are facing challenges that they've never faced. Whatever continent, whatever kind of government they have, cities now are being challenged in ways that they've never been challenged before. And that is when we shine best, at those difficult times. Now, as I said when I was talking in Berlin, why in the world would they invite somebody to come to Nashville to talk about consolidation, a place that's voted it down 3 times? And it reminds me of what my wife says about me. This is confidential. Don't tell her I repeated this outside the household. Sometimes she gets frustrated. She just tells me, you know what? You are the living example of the premise that no man is totally useless. He can always serve as a bad example. So we have not consolidated in Memphis and Shelby County, and there are a lot of bad things. I'm going to talk about good things, though, but there are a lot of bad things that we would not have if we were to consolidate. So I draw on that experience both as a county mayor and as a city mayor, and as someone who grew up in this part of the country. So what I'd like to do, Mayor, is talk for maybe 10 minutes and then throw it open for questions. Is that okay? I'd love to do that. But it is an honor to come up and just spend a little time with you on celebrating your 50th anniversary. First things first, from one music city, and of course we are a music city, down in Memphis, the blues, the real home of the blues that you'll find nowhere else. I really want to congratulate you on all of your success and all of the lessons on good government that you teach not only in Tennessee, but in the nation and indeed around the world. Not merely good government, but efficient government, and most importantly, visionary government that y'all have provided for all of us over the past 5 decades. It's a real pleasure to be here with a good friend of mine, truly a great Tennessean, John Siegenthaler. Give him another round of applause for all that he has done for our great city. Now, y'all know of his illustrious career, and John, I didn't get this out of Wikipedia, so this has to be right. Just remember that. This is accurate if I say it. Y'all know about his illustrious journalistic career in which he gained national notice back in 1954 when, as a reporter, he saved a suicidal man from jumping off the Shelby Street Bridge. He talked to the man for 40 minutes before grabbing his collar and pulling him to safety, whereupon the gentleman responded, "I will never forgive you for that." And sometimes that's the way we feel in city government, the things that we try to do. Well, let me say this. Nashville was not about to commit suicide in 1958 and again in 1962 when it took up the cause of city-county consolidation. But there's little question that John Siegenthaler was indeed a leader who, by force of personality and conviction, set this city with others uniquely on a path that was committed to progress. And it took you and brought us to where we are today. Thank you so much, John. We owe you a debt of gratitude. I said a minute ago that it's a bit odd. Why do you invite a guy up here who's from a city and county that's voted down consolidation 3 times? That's not at all rare. Of the 15 communities that have put city-county consolidation on the ballot in Tennessee, you are the only major city to have accomplished it. Chattanooga and Knoxville joined my city, as places who have voted multiple times on this issue, but only Nashville has succeeded. I think Trousdale County has it, I believe, a little tiny county next to Wilson County over there. I have been asked if my emotion today is envy. Am I jealous, or do I resent it? And the answer may surprise the people who fan the flames of that old Memphis-Nashville rivalry and competition. I am genuinely, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, happy to be here today because all of us in Tennessee should take pride in our capital's reputation as an imaginative, effective government. And the central truth is that we are all in this together. And for Tennessee to succeed, more than anything, its cities must prosper. And it's sort of an anniversary, a homecoming for me, because I entered Tennessee State University in 1962. Matter of fact, my first, thank you, Councilman Wheeler. My first term paper was written, I remember the notebook paper that I wrote it, and we didn't have typewriters and computers, boys and girls. You wrote it on notebook paper, was on the consolidation of government here in Nashville and Davidson County. So it's an anniversary for me also. Matter of fact, I celebrated my 50th high school graduation right up here in Mount Juliet. I'm not going to say that because, see, Mount Juliet used to be a little village. Now it's bigger than Lebanon, and I can't get over that. So I'll just say I celebrated my anniversary over here in Wilson County about 3 weeks ago. So it's a great homecoming for me also. I remember distinctly from my research way back then, from my college years, it was a distinctly different Nashville. As a matter of fact, Humphrey White, who is working the bar upstairs, the reason I was talking to him, I wasn't trying to get him to give me a bottle of whiskey or anything, but we were reminiscing about the Nashville that we knew then because we waited tables at the Andrew Jackson, the Knoll, the Hermitage, the Maxwell House, and every once in a while we'd go out to Mario's. Is it still open, Fancy Town? It's still here? And Jimmy Keller's and all of those places, so we got to know. Matter of fact, I learned so much about politics. This is maybe kind of, it's not a joke, and nobody in this room would do anything like this, but we would be in on the meetings over at Andrew Jackson, pouring coffee, and of course folks just figured, that ain't nothing but the waiter. And folks would just say everything, and even after it passed, there was a lot of cynics. It's amazing that y'all still have consolidated a metro government here, because some of the things that I would hear over drinks, over at the Maxwell House, I said, let me get the hell out of this place. And they would say anything in front of us because they just figure they don't know what we're talking about. Hell, we did know what you were talking about. That's why I said, let me hurry up and get out of here and go make a living on my own. But it brings back still a lot of memories, the time that I spent. Matter of fact, the only time I got in trouble is look, this is a Friday afternoon, and let's face it, a lot of you'd like to be somewhere else, so I'm not going to get too serious up here. So the only time I got in trouble, we had a way, the Ford brothers and I and Humphrey and the others, of working 3 events at one time, which we were not supposed to do. We would set up, say, a dinner at the Andrew Jackson, and one of us would stay behind to pour coffee, and then the others would run across the street to the alley to the Hermitage or wherever, set that up, and then run on down to the Knoll, get that up, and then rotate. One night we got just really greedy, and we were the best waiters in town, so they were having the athletic banquet out at Tennessee State. So we got really greedy, and we decided that we'd not only cover 3 hotels in downtown Nashville, but they would also go out to the Tennessee State campus and work that one. I mean, we were going to work, we had the whole town covered. Only thing happened is the guy, Monk Woods was his name, had a pink Imperial, and we forgot that cars back then guzzled up a lot of gas, and we got to 18th and Jefferson and ran flat out of gas. and couldn't get back downtown in time to tear down the parties. So the statute of limitations is run on that. You can't prosecute me on that now, Chief. Just put your handcuffs up. There's nothing you can do about that now. But there were really some fond memories. So I learned more about consolidated government than you think I did. But back then, it was a town with a population of about 175,000, a somewhat sleepy city that came to life. Now, my notes say once a year, but it came to life twice a year. One, of course, when the legislature came back in session, and the other was the country music convention. Now, I knew a lot about that because, and don't y'all tell Harold Ford Sr. I said this, you didn't have liquor by the drink. And, of course, nobody wanted to stop partying in Nashville after 11 o'clock. So Harold Ford Sr. came up with a way. He was in charge of all of the bars for every record label. And, of course, we had to store that whiskey somewhere. And there were a bunch of crooks in downtown Nashville, so we'd take it out to our apartment on Jefferson, the Jeffersonian apartments. Senator Harper, and you and I remember the same church. You know, I'm talking about all those other people. I'm not talking about me. I'm just telling on them, okay? All right, just remember that. But anyway, we'd take it out there, and he was good, and y'all thought Good Jelly Jones. How many remember Good Jelly Jones in here? Y'all think Good Jelly Jones had it going on. We had it going on out there in terms of what we were able to market in that part of Nashville. There were two times that things really perked up in this town, Mayor, is the legislature coming back to town and the Country Music Awards. But now, look at it. This is a city, Nashville, Tennessee, that is just bursting. You have become, Nashville, the 12th fastest growing large metro area in the 2000s, growing at a rate of 21% and adding almost 300,000 people in 1 decade. Don't see that in many cities across the nation. And while our country as a whole was enduring what's been called the lost years of job creation, Nashville added 36,000 jobs. Your job growth last year ranked 5th among large cities, and the joke was that you would even argue over the time of the day up here. I watched some of y'all's council meetings up here. I thought we got kind of raucous down there, but y'all do. But you get the job done. That's the main thing. In addition to that, Nashville is now what I call a magnet city. People are moving here, especially the much coveted 25 to 34-year-old college-educated talent that is crucial to the innovation economy. And the only argument these days is whether Nashville has surpassed Charlotte to become the South's second city behind Atlanta. I'll take Nashville any day. I don't care what those other folks say about their numbers. This is a better place. The scholars and the urban commentators still debate whether metro government was the trigger that set in motion a new trajectory for Nashville, but the opinions that matter most to me are the ones of business, civic, and political leaders that almost unanimously credit consolidation as the stabilizing force in this community's great rise to prominence. The merger of the city of Nashville and Davidson County governments was the first modern example of consolidation, and it is still regarded by city mayors as the model of efficiency and leadership that inspires our interest in governmental structures that can propel economic growth and improve quality of life. And as you well know, Nashville is more the exception than the rule, with only a handful of other cities your size with this same form of government. But it seems to me that while some people want to argue about metro government's effectiveness by thumbing through data and putting a microscope to the statistics to find tangible proof, what speaks volumes to me are the intangibles. And that goes back to my point about the spirit of the city. It's not in the numbers, but it is in the spirit of the city that is propelling this city. What makes Nashville special to me was not just the way that the ambition, the aspirations, and commitment to aiming higher were drivers to the consolidation movement itself. More to the point than just those factors, it was the way Metro government institutionalized those very same qualities into your government and defined all that has taken place since 1962. If I could analogize it, it's something like a bicycle chain. It did not immediately transform Nashville, but over time, the chain caught up with and supercharged your trajectory and magnified the ambition that inspired you to embark on this great experiment in democracy. And one of those intangibles is Nashville's extremely high ambition level. Who is it, the great planner that said, make no small plans, they stir not? What is it? Someone in here knows it. This is the epitome of not making small plans. In 1962, I remember your leadership having a conversation about taking control of their city's destiny and creating a great American city. At the time, it was an ambitious, perhaps even, and I can say this from the comments I heard, even audacious goal. And it called for you to shake off customary Southern attitudes that concentrated on cheapness, inexpensive infrastructure, and industries with their low-wage workers. This heightened ambition is regularly on display. Anytime Nashville sets a goal, launches a program, or builds a public building, it asks this question: how can we set the standard for the nation? How can we be the best? It's about thinking boldly and fearlessly, and about building a city whose quality becomes its chief competitive advantage. Quite often when I'm recruiting industry, and there was a company, Medtronic, I was up in Minneapolis, just out Minneapolis. Medtronic had narrowed it down to 3 places. Warsaw, Indiana, which is where the medical implant industry really was born, and some little town in Mississippi, I believe it was Como. I went in and I saw the guy from Mississippi going in, or getting ready to come in just after me. So I did a preemptive strike. And I said, he's going to come in here and he'll tell you that taxes are lower. He's going to tell you that he's got one of the world's best airports. He's got Beale Street, all of these things. But what he is not going to tell you is that the offerings that bring quality, and that's what folks are looking for these days, are located in the city of Memphis. That's the disadvantage we have. The communities around us, and when I get into the question and answer, we'll talk about this, it is actually closer to locate your business in Mississippi with a 60-cent tax differential. You're closer to the airport, yet you have no upkeep on the airport or any of that infrastructure. So what I said to them, and I said this to the national paper and others, I said, if you're looking for a cheap place, I can help you. But I don't think, with a Medtronic and a national paper, I don't think you're looking for the cheapest place to live. I think you're looking for the best place for your employees and their families. And then I'm able to tick off those things that we do have in Memphis that they do not have. And Nashville has excelled at that, never marketing itself as the cheapest place, but it is by far in this region the best place. Please stay with that. Stay with that. The race to the bottom serves nobody any good. It's also about, there's another intangible that just really impresses me, and that's the willingness to take a risk. The willingness to take a risk. Whether it's a new convention center or a commuter rail line, which, by the way, I'll claim credit for that, because if you didn't have Lebanon and Watertown, you wouldn't have anywhere for it to go. Mount Juliet, so I get credit. Would I get a little credit for that, Carl? Great. A commuter rail line, and just being unabashedly pro-growth, pro-business, and about development that increases density. A third intangible is the way that Nashville embraces its heritage. It could have been tempting to say that country music is for hillbillies and to argue that it wasn't sophisticated enough for the Athens of the South. But you didn't do that, because everybody knows that this place is full of the legends who got off of a Trailway bus or a Greyhound bus with nothing but a guitar and a gunny sack, and look at where they are now, and look at where our city is. Compare it to Memphis, in which we allowed Beale Street to almost fade away. We're bringing it back now because nobody wanted that old blues stuff. It's contemporary jazz and stuff. Nobody wants that. The late John Virgos, who founded the Rendezvous, the famous ribs restaurant there in Memphis, told me the story shortly before his death of how he got started. He wanted to build his restaurant in the lobby of a bank building there, but all the folks with the money told him that white people will never eat that old greasy, smoky stuff. He couldn't find money. He could not find the money. He went to Mr. A. Plow, the founder of St. Joseph Ashland and Plow, and Mr. Plow had a basement that he said, if you can put it in there. I don't know about you, if you've been in the Rendezvous lately. I do see a few white folks in there eating that stuff. Again, stay close to your heritage. It is, as we say, it's the boy who brung you to the dance. You ought to dance with him, and you have indeed danced well. You didn't get rid of your heritage. You stay close to it, and whatever you do, stick with that. You didn't, and it has helped define your growth. You're attracting new people. You understand that great cities grow from the rich native soil in which they began. It's about being loyal to your own authenticity and building a narrative anchored on your authenticity. And as a result, Nashville magnified its music until it became a well-known, highly loved brand for you, distinguished from all others. The final intangible that defines Nashville to me is its ability to balance ambition with reality and to encourage self-examination without engaging in self-defeating self-criticism. Most of all, you debate the issues that matter to successful cities today: re-densification, forms-based codes, architectural design, and infill redevelopment. In the end, the intangible but defining qualities captured in your form of government, metro government, means that Nashville has been uniquely focused on community building and placemaking for 50 years. Folks are just discovering that stuff that you discovered a long time ago, and the payoff has never been more obvious than it is today. I say all of this as prologue in this salute to the Metro Council for its contributions to all that has been accomplished in Metro since 1962. It is a remarkable legacy by the most valuable part of Metro government, its citizen leaders. You work for little pay and often even less praise. and yet you are the vital link between government and the people it serves. You strive, you aspire, you stretch the ambitions of your government, but at the end of the day, you don't just vote. You return to your neighborhoods where you lead the progress you envision. There are those who have compared a meeting of the Metro Council to a meeting of the United Nations. But the beauty of that many council members is that you intimately know the people in your district, their challenges and their concerns. And because you work for your district and in your district, you become voices for the Metro government agenda, and you do it with the kind of humility and foresight that you can show when a constituent knocks on your door. You know that it wasn't just a vote that you cast, but you're able to show them that I know what impact it has on you, and I'm glad to listen to you, even when they're criticizing you for not getting the garbage picked up. I'm sure that doesn't happen up here in Metro. If the history of Metro government is about anything, it is about leadership, and the Metro Council deserves credit for evolving with the government it serves, for navigating a new government through shoals that could have sunk it, and for shedding old-style decision-making in order to empower more public involvement in your government. In my State of the City address down in Memphis earlier this year, I shared a scripture from the book of Proverbs written by Solomon. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The sentiment seems just as appropriate today. Quite frankly, the greatest obstacle we face in accomplishing all we set out to do and in reaching our highest heights is not tied to what we have in our coffers or even in our capital improvement plans. Our biggest obstacle or motivator is instead what we carry in our hearts and souls. For as a city thinketh in its heart, so is she. Some people today have adopted the notion that we must solve all of our problems before we can truly celebrate our cities. For them, every advance is counted with what we have yet to do and accomplish. For 50 years, Nashville has not ignored the challenges it has faced. You're not hiding your flaws or glossing over your needs, but you refuse to wait for some future date to celebrate who you are. That time is now, and I am so honored to be part of it at this small event. And by the way, give the council members a round of applause for your service, past and present. Like those of us in Memphis, you sing while you work. You are bound by an upward hope that encourages you during challenging times. You are all united around a belief in hard work and a commitment to reaching goals by focusing on a common purpose. We have in our hearts a resilience of spirit that lights our regions and has inspired the world. And you will go on to meet every challenge with a soaring optimism and celebrate our destinations as well as the journey to get there. And that's why it's so important that you have taken the time to stop for a few minutes and to step back to consider all that you have achieved since 1962. It is in celebrating your past that you redouble your commitment to the future. It is in remembering who you are that you move with intentionality to who you are becoming. It is in paying tribute to those who stepped forward to change your history that you are inspired to move ahead with courage and an unshakable belief that individual men and women can join hands to control their own destiny. These are the forces unleashed when the people of Nashville reinvented their local government, and the journey has just begun. Your buildings are great, they're tall, they're beautiful, your parks are green, they're lush. Your entertainment is joyous, and all of that's great, but sometimes buildings fall, sometimes parks wither, rivers dry, but spirits do not wither, they do not dry, they do not crack, they do not fade. We have inscribed on the City Hall building in Memphis, Tennessee, and I will leave you with this, a passage from the great Greek philosopher Alcaeus. The city, not by her well-built walls, not yet again, neither by dock nor street, a city stands or falls, but by her men, not by the joiner's skill, nor work in wood or stone, comes good to her or ill, but by the spirit of her men and women alone. Thank you, congratulations, happy 50th.
Thanks, Mayor Wharton. That was wonderful. If we had questions and answers, it would be more wonderful. But I want to just say a few words to all of you. Express thanks on behalf of my colleagues, Thelma Harper and George Cate. Just a few words to close those beautiful words from the mayor of Memphis. Not surprising that he would come from our sister city in the West with such a beautiful and inspiring message. What he has said is really a commendation to all of you, and I can only echo it. I hear Mayor Dean, I hear Mayor Wharton, I hear Congressman Cooper. I think of their leadership, I look at your faces, I think of all of yours. We are what we are in this city because we have had leaders like those three, like all of you. We have had leaders who captured the spirit of the times. I go back, I'm 85 years old, I go way back. I can remember the struggle in 1958. I can remember that campaign. And you know, there was no real opposition to this form of government in 1958. None expressed. We went through that campaign with everyone extolling the virtues, the vision of a charter commission that had laid out a form of government that was going to make us a different place. There was no opposition to it until Election Day. And the people in the city said yes, and the people of the county said no, and we thought it was dead. And then we went through, as some of you will remember, a period of annexation. Annexation without a popular representation. And negative attitudes began to grow. And then we began to think, in the city and in the county, you know, maybe that idea was not so bad. Maybe we should revisit that idea. And we did revisit it, and Mayor Wharton says, you know, there is that large county, there is that large in Nashville and Davis County. There is this merged government with 40 members of the city council. 40 members of the city council. If there is one question I'm asked about when I travel and talk about where I came from, it is, why do you have such a large city council? And I think Mayor Wharton put his finger on the value of it. You're able to be closer to the people. I remember in those early days, 40-member city council. Well, we were a city of 400,000 people, a councilman representing 10,000 people. That made sense. And I must say, as the years evolved, it made more and more sense. You know, Mayor Dean, Mayor Wharton, Congressman Cooper, and all of you reflect why politics is an honorable profession. It'd be wrong to suggest that we've gone through these 5 decades, this half century, without disagreements among us. But throughout it, there has been vision. I mean, we sit in a building right now that was a vision of Mayor Bredesen. We go 6 blocks south from where we meet today, and we see the vision of another mayor in that phenomenal convention center that is now reflecting another vision. There have been tough times here. There have been disagreements here. Mayor Wharton reminds us of the days when the city, if you went to dinner and had a drink, if you had an alcoholic beverage, somebody was violating the law because it was against the law. I well remember the President of the Chamber of Commerce, David K. Wilson, coming to me at Tennessean and said, look, you're going to support this initiative. You were very big in both elections, 58 and 62. You were very big in favor of this metropolitan government. But now we've got another controversy, and there's real opposition in the churches to this. But the Chamber of Commerce is going to go for it. What about the Tennessean? And I said to my friend, Pat, you know, we've got Prunner's Alley downtown, and they're violating the law, and they're raided periodically. But there's nobody raiding the country clubs, and there's a bar open in every one of them, and there's a law violation, multiple violations every time somebody goes to the club. And are we going to close those? I know you're going to close down Prunner's Alley. Are you going to close down the country clubs as well? I said, well, that's a good question. And the answer was, we were. And we did. And that passed as Metro had passed. It passed with opposition as Metro had passed with opposition. I think back on those days in which the struggle went on, and the second time there was great opposition. The mayor of the city had turned, who had supported it initially, had turned against it, and it was Mayor West's vision. We had failed, and therefore annexation is the way of our future. Annexation without the vote of the people, and then that helped propel a new vote on metropolitan government. And I will tell you, the second time around, in my judgment, my considered judgment, it was the decision to enlarge the vision of the city, to diffuse opposition by giving an opportunity to serve to more people. And that's where the concept of a 40-member council came from. And I look back on that decision, and I would say, among all the decisions that commission made, that determination that people needed direct representation and that a 40-member council for a city of this size was not unreasonable. And looking back on it, yes, you had disagreements among yourselves. You're sitting among your colleagues, and you know what some of those disagreements were. But because of that spirit that A.C. Wharton talks about, because of the spirit that has really reflected the history and the legacy, political leadership in this community, you put it behind you. I remember so well in that those first moments after consolidation, and George Cate has reminded me of this again and again. Everyone was worried about education. What will we do about education? How can you put together a city and county school system, two separate entities? And the judgment was, well, we'll wait 3 years before we bring about that merger. We'll work at making it work, the form of government. We'll wait 3 years. We'll seek out the best person we can find as a director. And then Mr. Oliver and Mr. Moss will step aside. And some of you will remember those formative years of metropolitan government focused on education. And you have to remember, too, this city was going through a period in which the civil rights movement was playing out right here in this downtown area. Go upstairs to the civil rights room. Walk in that room and look to your left, and you'll see a mural photograph. Church Street, you see 3 little restaurants there. All were segregated. All were part of the movement. All were being demonstrated against. What you don't see when you look at that mural, and what you may not realize, is that it reflects the front of this building. Walk outside along that sidewalk, the blood of those children spilled in those demonstrations all the way down to the Lowe's Theater, which was part of the stand-in demonstrations that came a year later. You don't see that. The stain is long since removed. But the spirit of those students and the spirit of this city that came together to resolve those differences, it's alive and well today. And that mural is a wonderful legacy of what this city is about when it comes to confront controversy, when it comes to confront disagreement, when it comes to confront challenges that are hard to overcome. The spirit the Mayor Wharton talks about has pulled us together. Your spirit, again and again, has pulled us together across lines of disagreement. So I just like to add one brief word of thanks to every one of you. I remember the time. I have plotted these years with great memories of how we resolved our differences. As editor and publisher of the paper, I played a small role in that. Together, we all played, I think, a large role in that. And so, my thanks to you. My thanks for coming and helping with this celebration. The celebration ends next April. First council, first vice mayor, first mayor sworn in 50 years ago, next April 1st. Had nothing to do with April Fool's Day. It was a day that we solemnly undertook what Mayor Wharton predicted was going to be a bright future. And he is so right. He is so right. You know, we do have a bright future in this town. We have it because those who serve today reflect the legacy of so many of you who went before and served so well. So thanks for coming. Thanks for joining in this opportunity to honor our history, our legacy, and the contributions that you all have made. And so in conclusion, I won't sing happy birthday till next April, but I will ask every one of you to give yourselves a standing ovation and round of applause, because God knows you earned it. My thanks to you all. Good night.
On behalf of Sunset Grill, Cabana, and Midtown Cafe, all of us in Hillsborough Village want to wish Nashville a wonderful 50th birthday, and thank you to all the citizens for better government that helped make the last 50 years so magnificent.
Happy 50th birthday, Metro. We're proud of you.
On behalf of the District Attorney's Office, I want to wish Metropolitan Government a happy birthday and congratulations on 50 great years of serving Nashville citizens.
Happy birthday, Metro, from the Nashville Symphony.
50 years. Wow. Happy birthday, Metro.
Metro Arts wishes Nashville a happy, creative 50th birthday. Congratulations, Nashville.
Happy birthday, Metro.
Happy birthday, Metro!
Happy 50th birthday, Metro, from all of us here in the Davidson County Sheriff's Office.
From all of us here in the Assessor's Office, we'd like to wish Metro a happy 50th birthday.
I'd like to wish the Metropolitan Government a happy 50th birthday. It's been fun growing up with you.
The Trustee's Office wants to wish Metropolitan Government a happy birthday. You have served this community for 50 years, and what a great job.
Nashville, happy birthday from everyone at the Martha O'Brien Center. This is a great time to live in this city. Our candles are burning really bright because we are a city on the move.
Happy birthday, Metro! Happy birthday, Metro! Happy birthday, Metro, from Nashville Children's Theater!
Happy birthday, Metro, on 50 great years from the American Heart Association.